Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Hari Om to everybody. Pranam. Please, Ram. Pranam, pranam. Before we enter into the usual topic, somebody has sent an email asking us to share something on shloka number 43 of third chapter. Evam buddhe param buddhva samsatabhyatmanatmanah jahishatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasatam. The English translation is that thus knowing that reality, which is superior to the buddhi, and restraining the self by the self, destroy, O mighty armed, that unseizable enemy in the form of karma or unrestrained sensual desire. You will find a military language here. Sri Krishna was a warrior. Arjuna also was a warrior. Thus realizing the truth which is beyond buddhi, that which is pulsating the buddhi itself, We normally stop with mind and buddhi. We do not try to go beyond the mind and buddhi. So now we try by inward journey, with prayer, with any discipline that suits us, that there is a power behind the mind and intellect. Just like there is a power behind the seeing, behind the thinking, behind the hearing, the organs as such cannot do, but because of the power behind this, all the organs are made active. Similarly, the mind in an intellect is also activated by that power. So having realized this, disciplining the little self by the infinite self, by surrendering, The little self is the sense of individuality, which makes us to feel the sense of agency. I am doing, I am planning, I am enjoying, I am working, I am aiming, This is how we look at it. But we try to now, through the discipline, we try to realize total subservience to that power. At the moment, it is the one which makes us to talk. At the moment, it is the one which makes us to hear, to see. So the self is made to realize this. There are two selves here. One is the sense of individuality, the lower self, and the power behind it, we can call it as the higher self. And why disciplining the little self by the infinite self, conquer the enemy. That is the important word. Which is the enemy? Kamarupam Durasatam, in the form of kama, which is difficult to capture. Through various, rationalizing on this, through various disciplines, self-denial, austerities, through one's own self-imposed code of conduct, do's and don'ts, we try to discipline. Normally the sense organs try to be always in the sense objects. And in this process, we hardly think that there is a power behind the sense organs. That is why the other day, we shared one wonderful insight given by somebody in the West. Early morning, you just go for a walk alone, preferably in the midst of in the forest. So when you go there, you will just see a tree. Stop, pause for a moment. The word tree is a label given to that particular existence. by somebody like us. And that has become universal, and so we start with that label. So we start now understanding what was it before the label was put on that existence. When this process takes place, the palpable gain is the sense of agency will not be there. When we come down to the sense of agency, that label matters much. Anything, any object we see, the object has been given a label. When A to Z 27 letters were invented by that great soul, whom we don't know, the author, putting 2 or 3 letters together, almost all the objects have been labeled. So the prompting came to somebody, must have come to somebody, we don't know that, to put a label on each and every object. Kindly go back. This is a very, very subtle and subjective approach, but very, very, very thoughtful. You are seeing an object and you are trying to see that beyond the labeling. The mic, the amplifier. What would have been that before the labeling? Here, of course, it is man-made, so the concept would have come. But when you look at the Mother Nature's creation, it was there even before we discovered them. Water was there even before the scientists looked at it and named it as H2O. Similarly, the tree was there, the fruit was there, leaf was there, stem was there, root was, everything, you know. All those words we are repeating, only the label pasted on it. So just now we are trying to think, what was it before the labeling took place? When he says, disciplining the little self by the infinite self, there could be so many methods suggested. This could be one of the methods. Eckhart only says, you know, when we look at that object, the individual is not there. Consciousness is looking at its creation. Beautiful word. So the sense of individuality, I won't say sense of individuality comes because of the labeling. The labeling came because of the sense of individuality. Now we can say it is vice versa. So the object by itself cannot entice us, attract us. If we look at a sense object, what would have been that? A laddu. Before that what? Before a fruit. Now we are eating mango fruit. The moment we see that, we immediately say, the mind will immediately say, it's a mango, ripe mango. It is necessary. For our dealing, it is necessary. But here, we should at the same time know that the mango was there even before it was named as mango. What was that? Kindly think about it. So when he says, when Lord Krishna says that in the form of karma which is difficult to capture, which is the source of the tendency for all downpulling, they are difficult to conquer. You have to marshal all your energies for that purpose. Don't take it easy. Don't take it lying down. Nobody can become moral by simply sauntering into morality. It needs hard struggle. That struggle gives sentence is the message to all people, especially to our people in India, like a general in battle pointing out to his soldiers the citadel of the enemy and issuing orders, go and conquer it. Sri Krishna is telling all people through Arjuna to attack and conquer the source of all crime and delinquency. Then alone you are free. Unlike the battle of Kurukshetra, which ended after 18 days, this is a continuous battle for all humanity to carry human evolution to its highest goal, namely spiritual freedom and fulfillment. That inner war will remove also the tendency to wage external wars in the world. So Gita and Upanishads are the only two great texts which you find this subject constantly emphasized. Strength and fearlessness. One more interpretation of this. In this stanza, not only does the chapter conclude, but the special advice demanded by Arjuna has also been finally answered. Through knowledge alone is ignorance ended. Through a lived experience of the self alone can we end our ignorance of the self. Through knowledge alone is ignorance ended. Through a lived experience, not by reading, not by hearing, but by actually experiencing, we end our ignorance of the Atman. This spiritual ignorance we have already found creates desires. The Lord has indicated earlier that the desire functions and thrives in the field of sense organs. ഞാൻ അവിടെ വന്നിട്ടാൽ മതി കേട്ടോ, ഇതിൻ്റെ നടുവിൽ വേണ്ട, നമ്മളൊന്ന് സംസാരിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയല്ലേ, അത് നിർത്താൻ പാടുണ്ടോ? This spiritual ignorance we have already found to create desires. The Lord has indicated earlier that the desire functions and thrives in the field of sense organs. Through the process of meditation, when we withdraw our false identification with the objects, the body, the mind, and the desire faculty that was so long roaming about and functioning in the outer fields is gathered and herded together in our intellect. The source of desire, as we have said, is our ignorance. And so when we rediscover in our experience the Supreme, the ignorance ends, and thereafter comes the perfect victory over the inner saboteur, the one who loots away our peace and perfection, and that kidnaps us away from our divine kingdom to the dark caves of despairs and sorrows. As long as we maintain in ourselves the limiting adjuncts of the matter envelopments, so long we cannot realize our divine potentialities in our delusion. We will understand ourselves to be nothing more than the little ego, the limited, bound, finite, ever sobbing. After the rediscovery of our own diviner experience, we will be able to live restraining the self by the self. In a perfect Buddha's life, his ego functions completely under the control and persuasion of the diviner in them. No more can the desire impulses, even if at all they arise in the mind, play their mischiefs and bring about any devastations in our inner garden. If we enable us to easily understand, suppose we go to the heart pourings of beloved Papa, when the inner struggle is going on, but his experience is the one which identifies the struggle. Otherwise, we will be carried away by the struggle. We will not be knowing that we are going through the struggle. By having a taste of our own real reality, and when we come down to the individual plane, this struggle is natural. And then we find in the outpourings how every time when the thoughts that makes him feel to keep him away from the base, when they arise, who cautions? Just think about it. Who cautions that we are moving away? No outside factor is there. So that means the self by the self, How do we understand that experience? He says that self by the self. Abhyatmanam atmanam. So the small self is restrained by the big self. In the outpourings again, when you go through that, you can clearly see that. For a moment it comes, then again it goes. So it is not a theory, it is by practice this can be had. So 43 shloka wants us this, that though we may feel, though the mind may interpret that we are steadily progressing on the spiritual path, that means moving toward the reality and then working because the reality is asking us to work, because the reality is ordering us to work, because of the presence of the reality all thoughts, words and deeds are coming. This realization comes, and again when we are back to the sense of agency, sense of individuality, there is every likelihood that our old habits may push us to these sense objects. So we have to be very, very careful about the sense organs, which always find its joy in sense objects. So how do we restrain the small self? That is what is discussed here. This is a very important shloka for a real sadhaka. Every time we have been cautioned to be alert, vigilant, lest we might slip. That is why Papa used to say constant chanting of God's name enables us to put a fence inside our mind which will arrest the outgoing tendencies of the mind. So in our case, it may not be possible to chant throughout our waking state because of our various preoccupations at the family level, professional level, social level. So we try as much as possible. Even the period ever so small, he used to say that, no? So that will slowly enable us to stand the temptation, stand the slipping. That is why he cautions, even while walking, even while bathing, even while doing anything, we should try to get in touch with him through that name. Otherwise our sense organs will be always craving for the sense objects. So we should also know that Atman is the one which is even activating the buddhi. Normally, you and I, we cannot go beyond intellect. That is our last point. But then the buddhi says, how can I come, where can I come? By myself. There should be a life force for behind this buddhi. Oh, then we slowly realize. By our constant association with these noble thoughts and by austerities, our buddhi will be educating us not to stop with that buddhi, but to go beyond the buddhi. Buddhi is also a form of thought. So the thought becomes aware that it owes its origin to a thoughtless base, a base where there are no thoughts, a base where only the peace remains, a base where silence remains, a peace where serenity, calmness prevails, and from there the thought comes. All of us are aware, not aware. Because we always say, we want peace of mind. No? Yesterday we were talking about it. Anybody who is having a serene face, serene outlook, calm approach, we appreciate, we are happy. Why? It touches and kindles the inherent calmness in us, the inherent serenity in us, the inherent peace in us. So that is beyond past buddhi. So here he says, Evam buddhe param buddhva. Very, very important sloka. It's good that it was pointed out. So coming back, anything else anybody would like to share? So yesterday we were reading about Gita and peace, What was that?
Summum bonum of 18 chapters. Summum bonum of 18 chapters.
Summary of the 18 chapters. Summary.
Not summum bonum of 18 chapter.
Yes.
Everybody wants peace. So, if we develop a perspective, how does these 18 chapters, what does it give for our search for peace inside? We will again read today. Beloved Papa Swami Ramdas, while struggling through an utterly restless and miserable period in his life, was made to think deeply on the futility of worldly pursuits and the necessity of pursuing a divine path and realizing one's identity with the Supreme Being, which alone can lead one to peace eternal. All masters are, based upon their experience, unanimous in declaring that unless the intellect practices sensory discipline, just now we discussed, and yoked to the subtle and mysterious power of the Atman, through meditative approach, there cannot be peace. And without peace, there cannot be happiness. Ashantasya kusasugam. All of us want to lead a peaceful life, happy life, blissful life. In fact, every act of ours, every thought of ours, every word of ours is knowingly or unknowingly directing us towards that. But because we are knocking at the wrong doors, it's not getting opened. Peace eternal, that we should be very clear. That which stays with us always, not coming and going, not ephemeral, not transient, eternal. Swami Ranganathanji says, when the mind is constantly in a disturbed condition, how can there be happiness there? Happiness is a wonderful state. You are serene, you are calm, you are fulfilled, then only happiness comes. Therefore, if happiness is the objective, you have to handle this mind. You have to handle the sensory system, which is below the mind. Then a disciplined inner life sets in. Handling the mind. With this perspective, chapter by chapter study of the Gita was undertaken and the following points emerged. There are 18 chapters. From 18 chapters, something that we can connect with peace eternal, that emerged. Let us go through it again and again. Repeated manana is necessary. One time reading may not help us. Number one, any conflict in action which denies the presence of peace stems only from the feeling of me and mine. When we go through this chapter by chapter, our points, it would be better if we parade before us the experiences that God has given us to pass through and then interpret this with that. Otherwise it will become bookish, textual, academic, intellectual. No, we don't want that. So when we hear this word, any conflict in action, all of us can go through their life, which denies the presence of peace, stem only from the feeling of me and mine. Otherwise we will name it as only happening. When the me and mine comes, we put a label, good, bad, positive, negative, and this disturbs the peace. When we say it is happening, when we touch the fire, we get burnt. If we know that is the nature of the fire, we will not have any complaint. Unknowingly, we have put our hand, we got burned, that's all. We know the reason. It is not because, it is the eternal law. Burning is the eternal law of the fire. So any conflict in action which denies the presence of peace stems only from the feeling of me and mine. Number two, to get over the above conflict, that is me and mine, one has to operate from a mental state of equanimity. We are in search of peace. Every time we have to remember. So equanimity. Plenty of instances are there in the book In Quest of God, Somebody, when we go, somebody lovingly treats us. In somewhere we are mocked at. In somewhere bullying is there. In somewhere we are loved. But in all these, suppose we are maintaining the same equanimity, God is making us to pass through. And to learn this equanimity, these pairs of opposites should be there. Otherwise, how will we know? That is the litmus test. How will we know that God has blessed us with the equanimity? Unless He makes us to pass through such tests. Just like we sit for the exams, where nobody comes to us, neither the text nor the teacher, nor are we aware of the questions, but that is necessary to know, to evaluate to what extent we have assimilated or absorbed the teachings specified in the curriculum or syllabus. Just like examinations are conducted to evaluate our absorption level, God also makes us to put through various types of experiences to evaluate for ourselves whether we are in a position to maintain equanimity, meaning everything is happening because of the will of Him. Beautiful. To get over the above conflict, one has to operate from the mental state of equanimity along with the deep contemplation of the transient nature of the me and mine. Second chapter keeps on telling that. Just like we pass through the childhood, adolescent state, adult state, middle age state, and then enter into the senior citizenship, these are all changes. Similarly birth, similarly death. So even in between the birth and death, our mind, how many times it has dropped many things, how many times it has embraced new thoughts, new concepts. Think about it. And do we make an issue? Do we make a fuss about it? Something very important. So the transient nature of the me and mine, if we become aware, we are not making an issue. When we were in the childhood, we were attached to the toys. When we were in the school days, we must have been attached to the various other requisites. But when we move from one stage to another, not that we strenuously renounced anything, but automatically it got dropped off by itself. And we don't make a big fuss about it. The priority has changed. So Lord is asking us, the me and mine is always constantly changing. Its rights and wrongs, its likes and dislikes, its priorities, its preferences, everything keeps on changing. So the transient nature of the me and mine, it is not fixed. We go through our life, so it becomes very clear. So to get over the above conflict, one has to operate from a mental state of equanimity along with the deep contemplation on the transient nature of the me and mine encased in the body. Here comes the relevance of values. Today morning we were discussing. Values are nothing but that makes us to expand ourselves. From the me and mine, from the limited to the unlimited. Any value. Whether it is love, whether it is compassion, whether it is excellence, whether it is sacrifice, anything we name, whether it is duty, that means from the selfish to the selfless. So we try to practice, that is what He has done in the 18 chapters there, Sita Prajna. So the relevance of values, control of the senses. Not expecting the fruits of action. Because now we realize for our success, various factors are the contributory elements. Not because I alone is responsible for my success. In the success of an individual, there are umpteen number of contributory factors. So the me and mind refuses to accept it and takes the whole credit, whereas a balanced mind will always think about the various contributory factors, and so that the fruit of action is not appropriated only to oneself. As we said, suppose we write a thesis and we get a PhD. Normally everybody congratulates and we may also feel we have done a wonderful thing, one aspect. Later on we will find the thesis was prepared in a language which was a gift of somebody, we don't know the author who gave us the language, who gave us the conjugation of verb, who brought out so many idioms, phrases, and a mine of knowledge stored in various books that enabled us to touch and kindle an innovative thing from within us. That is why they take about 2 years, So many people, the references, they are the instrumental cause for unearthing that which is latent in us. And when you type out, nowadays the computer or laptop, and you always think that when there was no type, something like PhD, somebody was able to think about this PhD, conferring PhD. For that, how they set up a machinery, set up a process. All these factors have helped us to get the PhD. So a balanced man will never think that this is my own effort. Though he may not tom-tom, he knows inwardly that behind every labeled success, there are so many contributory factors other than that person. That is why not expecting the fruits of action. And excellence in all actions and dedication to Him, God. One-pointed, single-pointed, focused attention. Efficiency in action. Dexterity in action. These will all help to what? To bring down the supremacy of me and mine. Once again we will read, to get over the above conflict, me and mine, one has to operate from a mental state of equanimity along with the deep contemplation on the transient nature of the me and mine encased in the body. Here comes the relevance of values, control of the senses, not expecting the fruits of action, excellence in all actions, and dedicating to God, the great provider. Then emerges the peace from within. So the second chapter is directing toward the peace by doing all these things. The first one was when we deny the presence of me and mine, peace comes. Second one was if we do these, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, peace emerges. And then we move to the third chapter. Nobody is free from actions. To convert all actions on the above lines. is to dedicate all actions to him. That is called Karma Yoga. Again, that manana should be there, The prompting is given by him, wherewithal is provided by him, field is created by him, and then we act. So that is how the dedication becomes a reality. Think about it in terms of our experience. Any field. Suppose I am cooking. The prompting comes to cook. Where from it comes? From within. Because of the life force, the prompting comes. So he is there as life force. The wherewithal for cooking. The vessel, the gas, the provisions. It's not mine. Observing keenly how it is prepared, or delving, nowadays you go to YouTube, how to prepare rasam, how to prepare dosha, everything is given there, in detail. How to prepare bisibalabath. So you go through that and then you understand the proportion, the ingredients, and the process, and then you prepare. Every now and then you evaluate whether it is in order, and then finally you prepare and put it. And somebody tastes it and say, beautiful. You will know that these are all the contributory factors. So you will not take the credit to yourself. You need not tom-tom. But so like that. So nobody is free from actions. To convert all actions on the above lines is to dedicate all actions to him. That's called Karma Yoga. This will ultimately ensure peace. Because the sense of individuality is not there to take credit. The presence of sense of individuality is the one which denies our peace. So when I am not appropriating to me, then automatically you are happy. Only when the me and mine comes, we expect somebody to acknowledge. He did not even say anything. How my dish is, we expect. Think about it deeply. That is why Gita is very much related to our daily life. How to transform the action to a Karma Yoga. We may not be able to do it in all. At least we will try in 1, 2, 3, something like that, no? And then fourth, however, by only erasing the sense of doership behind all thoughts, words and deeds, peace can be felt. Same thing has been repeated in a different way. By erasing the sense of doership. Now when we move this hand, just imagine. For others' sake, we can say, I am moving the hand. Sense of doership. But we know very well the blood circulation is responsible, primarily. Otherwise, this hand will not move. As one doctor said, 6 liters of blood is traveling 120,000 kilometers in our body every day. Everybody heard it properly? 6 liters of blood is traveling 120,000 kilometers every day in our body. That is why the movement is possible. So the presence of life force in us, expressing in the form of blood circulation, is the base with which this hand is moved. So then when we deeply think about it, we need not tell this to others. We should realize that's all. That is what is meant by in the 4th chapter. However, by only erasing the sense of doership behind all thoughts, words and deeds, peace can be felt. Then 5th, a doubt might arise. Instead of going through the above process, why not relinquish the conflict-ridden action itself by moving away from the common field of action, which is normally understood as sannyas, receding from all actions. This is not possible. Nobody can exist without action. Number 1. Number 2, even if we are withdrawing ourselves from the external field, the mind with all its pulls and pushes remains the same. Because we are traveling with the same mind, Sitting from here, if the mind can recollect what had happened 60 years back, what had happened 65 years back, what had happened 40 years back, what had happened when we visited Kashmir, what had happened when we visited Kanyakumari, think. Everything has got imprinted here, stamped here, memorized here. So such is the type of mind God has given us. So all our attractions, cravings, desires, infatuations, delusions, everything is with us in the form of thoughts in us. With this thought only we are going elsewhere. We thought by receding from the field of action we will be able to get peace. No. Only a few can come out of this hurdle. So the answer for the ordinary person is change of attitude on the lines of Karma Yoga in all actions helps to experience peace. Change of attitude means accepting everything is done because of its svabhava. So karma becomes akarma. Even though we are acting, we will feel just like when we are walking to this hall, the walking goes on, but we don't feel that there is an action involved. It is svabhava. Svabhavastu pravartate. So fifth is like that. And 6th, needless to mention, sense control, one-pointedness, moderation, sense of equanimity, followed by the practice of dispassion and dispassion, help in actualizing Karma Yoga, thereby leading to peace. So how do I convert karma to Karma Yoga, which will enable me to have peace, to realize peace within me? Again, Bhagavad Gita in 6th chapter, he is giving us some clues. What are they? Sense control, one-pointedness, moderation in eating, working, sleeping, in anything, and sense of equanimity, followed by regular, constant practice and dispassion. These are all the ways to become aware of the peace within. So we have now come to the 6th chapter. We don't want to proceed further because we may not be able to remember. So first chapter, if we look at it, how to become aware of the peace within, we get that me and mine is the one which is the curtain. When I am in deep sleep, there is no me and mine, and that is something which everyone craves for. But the only disadvantage is we are not aware at that particular experience. So, one more thing we have to add it, by which we become aware of that state where the me and mine is not there. During our deep sleep state, we are not aware of the me and mine. That is why everybody looks fresh after good sleep. The peace is coming. But the difference is we are not aware of it. So awareness minus the me and mine. That is the state. So peace is awareness minus me and mine. Every day God gives us this wonderful opportunity of going through this blissful state. But somebody is watching, that is why he said, I had good sleep. Yat swapna jagara sushuptim avaidi nityam tad brahmam. That which is witnessing the swapna jagrata sushupti avastha. In the sushupti avastha, there is tranquility, peace, because I am not there. So first chapter gives us this idea. Second chapter gives us how to become aware of this, how to get over this me and mine, equanimity, the transient nature of the me and mine, relevance of values, control of the senses, not expecting any fruits of action, excellence in whatever we do, because at that time the me and mine steps out. And dedication of everything to him. That will pave the way for the peace to emerge. In the third chapter, everyone has to act. Peace can come only when every action is dedicated to him, is transformed as karma yoga. By understanding that the prompting is given by him, wherewith it is given by him, field is provided by him. Fourth chapter is only an emphasis of the same. The sense of doership. We were talking about the hand movement, remember. Even from this tiny little movement, we can understand that we cannot do anything. Yesterday evening there was a phone call from one of the devotees. He was telling that his mother-in-law had a paralytic stroke, right side. That means it will not move, you know. We think about that. Can we arrogate anything? So fourth one reminds us of this. And fifth one, can we withdraw from all activities and keep quiet? No, it cannot be done. Because the vasanas will always pursue us. So there is, and the mindset will always be like that. So we don't, as Gandhiji said, change, be the change. Let us not change everything outside. Let us be the change. Very often we used to share, for the sake of those who are hearing for the first time, one anecdote. A family is there, the husband is working, wife is a housewife, A girl is there, she has to go to the school every day morning. The husband, after having his bath and getting dressed up, he sits on the dining table. Mrs. brings the breakfast. The child also comes and sits. On that particular day, when the child was sipping the coffee or tea, somehow it slipped from her hand. It got spilled on the beautifully ironed and starched shirt. No. Immediately he shouted. He got up, went to the room, changed his thing. He did not take the food. Just imagine. The girl was crying. He became miserable. He made everybody miserable and went to the office. From there he telephoned. He has forgotten the key. Now, another set. The girl, another drama, another scene. The girl spilled. Immediately she was taken. Immediately the father says, "Don't worry, it's all right. Nothing happened to you, He immediately goes, calmly changes the dress, comes back, eats, pats on her daughter, take her also to the school. See? Changing the attitude. So 5th chapter says, change of attitude on the lines of Karma Yoga. It can happen, Nobody willfully will do that. God wanted to test me, whether I have patience, whether I have all-enveloping love. Only by giving these tests I can understand, So this is how the 5th chapter touches and kindles. And then 6th chapter says that if we have to reach this stage, we pray to him and then go through certain processes. What are the processes? Sense control. The man did not shout, one-pointedness, moderation, equanimity, followed by practice and dispassion. Immediately his concern is that she should not be upset. So in the six chapters, when we try to go with one, how do I unearth peace? What are the clues that have been given by the Lord to become aware of the peace within? Then he directs us in this fashion. So we request all of you to kindly approach the Gita something like this. You name of all the attributes of God, you put any attribute, and how do you get access to that attribute? Through different chapters. Each one has to find out. Today morning we were discussing. The more we go deep into it, it becomes clearer to us that we should not get stuck to one chapter. When we go through the 18 chapters, how are we in a position to write this? We go through the 18 chapters so that we get a comprehensive idea. And then the churning starts. Suppose we start with one and ends with one, we may not be able to do it. So we are entering into the 18-roomed mansion of Bhagavad Gita. First round going everywhere, coming back. Again going and coming back. Trying to remember what are the things are there in each and every room. And trying to connect it with our daily life. And then with Manana, we try to bring it out one by one. So an overall, a comprehensive study is a must. Because it is not in a chronological order. If we go through the 18 chapters, it is not in a chronological order. Each one stands by itself. So when we go through the whole thing, Suddenly, this morning when we were discussing, our attention was drawn to the 11th chapter, 4th chapter, 7th chapter, 13th chapter, like that. So that means first round, that what we have done now so far, it has to be repeated again and again and again, so that we get a comprehension, because our idea is not to mug up the slogas and reproduce. Our idea is to find out some clues to fine tune our life, so that we will be able to lead a peaceful life. We don't want anything more. We want to have a harmonious relationship at home, in the workplace, and with the friends. This alone can give us peace. At the family level, professional level, social level. We are making a lot of adjustments, a lot of flexibility, a lot of reconciliation, a lot of things we are all trying without knowing all these things. Now with the knowing also, when we do that, probably it might lead to a peaceful life. So kindly think on these lines. So next 7th chapter we shall try to dwell on it tomorrow. Hari Om. Anybody would like to say anything?
Superb.
Huh?
Superb.
Superb.
I'm
talking about it.
Yes.
I'm not asking for set.
Father, each and every day he's going inside.
Anyway, kindly think about it. It is.
Swamiji is making everybody to go deep inside.
It is making everybody go within.
to go deep inside.
Correct. So kindly bring it out, then it will be an incentive for us to talk. Okay? Hari Om.
Hari Om Swami.
Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Om. Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Hari Om. Pranam.